Warning, figure it out. We're going to talk about books. We might swear. Not suitable for all audiences, especially if you don't like us. We're fine with that. Hey everybody, welcome to Golden Guys. We are just like the Golden Girls without all the great sex appeal. We have 3 beards and 1 clean-shaven Knights of Old. But still, we're going through our haircuts.
You could take some off the top of his head and just paste it on.
I'm all the way down to here. So, but that's good. So, welcome to Golden Guys. We've got tonight. We've got an auction ending. We've got some auctions ending in a couple of days. A lot of good fun stuff is going on. We're gonna chat with you guys in a little bit. First, I'm gonna introduce everybody. First, right over here, Paul. How we doing?
Oh, buddy. Oh, we're doing pretty good. You know, we're just working, drinking, pressing, cleaning, submitting.
Yeah. That's what we'll best. But there we go. And down over here, how we doing, DS?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I got a huge score on Comic Connect tonight. I got some awesome books on the way, otherwise to flip, and I'll talk about those if you guys want to when we start here. And yeah, I got a big stack of books that I'm now working on pressing, and my process is very slow, 1 per day. And I'm cranking through those. But, man, I got a stack of nice silver and bronze keys. We got really good stuff, so I'm excited to get those out to CGC and get some more funds flowing back in from what I blew tonight. So,
And right down below here, Mike, how we doing?
Good. I got my my Golden Age newsstand recreation.
Nice.
I like that with the newspapers and everything, and the Life magazine. I have a Life magazine here from 1941, but that's a gift for someone.
Did I ever show you that swipe Schomburg did?
No.
The subby one?
Oh, wow. Hang
Yeah,
on.
that's cool.
Let me put you on the big screen.
I mean, you know, it's not like it wasn't like a lot of those submarines, but.
Hey, good job.
You know, there wasn't the internet for his reference, so he had to get it somewhere.
That's true. He didn't Google. So I myself have been a lot like you two, the other 2 guys here, pressing and cleaning and submitting. I have some silvers and bronze coming back this week. I've got moderns there now, and I've got some bronze and silver getting ready to go some more, which is why we're going to talk about some pressing and cleaning, because we all do it. I don't know, Knights, you do a little bit of a cleaning on yourself.
Press about 50 pounds.
Nice. We're getting there. Dark side of wrestling. That's good. So let me say hello to the early people in the chat first, and then we'll do a little show and tell, and we'll talk a little bit about things. Mr. Gretzky, how are you? Good having you here. DS is here as well. And then we've got David. Hey.
Why are we going to have him on and show his Archie collection?
Yeah, I would like to see some Archies. We'll definitely have to do that. David, good having you here. Blue Green Artifacts, hola. Cougar Comics, how are you? Good having you here. Blue Green was here. David Tourette. So you guys sub each other up right there. Stream Elements, thanks for watching our back. We appreciate that. Hey, Jumbo, good having you here.
Hello.
And yes. Okay, so show and tell. Who wants to go first? I want DS to go first.
All right, I'll go first.
Yep.
All right, so I got non-Golden Age stuff on the way. I bought a few things past week. I've got a Dave Stevens Grail. It's my favorite Dave Stevens on the way. I've got a Submariner 1. It looks like fine range. I think that's going to be a nice one. I got a couple She-Hulk 1s. I got an FF49.
Submariner Comics one?
No, it's the 60, the premiere, the 68 or whatever it is.
Which Dave Stevens book?
Crossfire 12, the Marilyn Monroe cover. I don't know. That was sort of impulse buy. I've been looking at one for years. I just bought a 9.8 just for the hell of it. It's not to flip, it's just to keep, but kind of an oddball book for me to own. I got an FF49 that looks like it's lower, mid-grade, 4.5 maybe. I'm excited to get that and check it out. And then here's the big book I won on Connect tonight. I've been looking for this for years. I think it's one of the top 5 Golden Age sci-fi books and one of the top LB Cole books. So I scored this Blue Bolt.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
And it's a 4.5. It's got a chip missing off the back cover edge, which limits the grade. But otherwise, this thing looks pretty sharp from the front. Definitely presents much better than a 4.5.
It's like an 8.0 cover.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice. The staples are good. A little bit of an overwrap. I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah.
4.5 creamed off white. So super tough book. Nice big sci-fi cold grail here. I think this book has a lot of room to grow, and I love it. So yeah, really happy to get this into the collection. So yeah.
I'll get that off of your when you have an estate sale.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be a popular one at my estate sale, I'm sure. Well, really, that's the biggest book I bought this year, by far, really. So I've been losing auctions on big books for 2 months, and I just almost the whole year I haven't really been able to score anything big because of the prices. But that one, I think I got a fair deal on it, and I'm excited to get it. So yeah, that's it. I've got stuff.
I've been looking for that for a while.
Nice.
I feel like you've been looking for that so many times that I felt like you had it.
Well, it doesn't come up for sale that often because people hold it. There's not a ton of them out there, but yeah, I mean, I saw a couple came up late last year, but the prices were sky high. They were higher grades too, and then it just doesn't pop up that often. I've been looking for one for, God, I don't know, 4 years probably, seriously, and this finally got one. So
that was the only LB Cole cover I knew before I started getting into it, you know. Somehow I knew about that one. But yeah, I love it.
Nice. You want to share? Did you get anything? Or I know you got a lot of stuff coming back. I apologize about that. But.
Yeah, tomorrow is going to be the day. I'll probably go live tomorrow with a bunch of stuff.
Cool. And you didn't look at your grades, huh?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I picked up Knights. Did you pick up anything?
I got some I could show a little bit.
Yeah, show and tell. We love that. It's the best part of the show. Now, spinner rack is. But.
I don't have spinner rack.
I know, that's okay.
Sorry about that, guys.
No worries. We'll do it every other week too. It kind of adds some stuff to it. I'll show you 2 I picked up. Got a nice Bill Everett cover here at a way discounted price. It was a throw-in for $5 extra. It's astonishing 55. Actually, there is a Joe Maneely cover I have that looks almost exactly the same. It's the electric chair. I do like these astonishings, and I've got almost I think I have like 9 or 10 in a row now, which is great when you find a filler in the golden age. Not that I'm a big collector of it, but it's Atlas, and I've got a thing about a belief that Atlas is going to be very popular again soon. Not really speculating, but I'm a big fan of Atlas to begin with. And for Jumbo, we have Jumbo. This is I'll show this one here, big screen here. This is Jumbo number 41 Zolnowicz cover. This is really not in bad shape considering the year and everything else. It's a big book. It's a big boy book. There's really good stuff in here, but it is dirty on the back. Gives you a lot of footage. Look at that footage. But it's definitely been tanned and everything around there, but it's got a great Sheena story in there that I was actually enjoyed reading, because the monkey in there talks for some reason, so it's kind of cool. The monkey kind of surprises her, but the chimpanzee, sorry, but it's really good to find these books.
I love them.
I
said,
early Jumbos are some of my favorites. I have one more to go of the early Jumbos of number 23, and I already have it on hold. I just have to give the guy a phone call and say I'm ready to pull the trigger. It's really nice picture. I was looking for a better one, but I don't think I'm going to find one for the price. It does have a minor hole in it, not this one, the other one, but just classic. And one of my favorite artists of that era, we talked about, was Zolnowicz. So just one of the great fiction house artists, or Eiger shops, or whatever you want to call them. So There we go. All right, Knights, you.
All right, so this is not. It's a different golden age. So in 1972 or three, in Japan, it was the golden age of giant robots because Go Nagai, who is an artist there, created the first giant robot that actually was piloted by a guy. Before that, there were people who were controlling these giant robots by in anime and manga with remote controls, and this guy created the first one, Mazinga Z, which is like the pilot was in this little ship and it went into his head, and then he flew around controlling the robot. But they created this toy line called in America it's called Shogun Warriors, and it's a lot of die cast. So like here's one, and this thing's heavy as all hell. But it's kind of the golden age of like giant robot, like Japanese robot toys in a way. It really took off. But I've been after one forever, and it is this really deluxe version of Guy King. It's really huge, and
I've never even seen that one before.
Tons of metal. It never came out in America, and it's super rare, very, very rare, and very large metal, and he actually transforms into like a robot. I'll take him apart a little bit later, but super excited to finally get one of those. Anyway, I know it's not Golden Age, but
Still counts.
Tons of the Golden Age books. It really does. It's almost
Golden Age.
It's worse because like you have to buy stuff from people in Japan, and I don't speak Japanese, so it's like treachery. But the hunt is so much fun.
Google Translate is your friend.
Yeah, there's been some strange things from that sometimes.
Yeah, it doesn't get everything, but like I've noticed, like the company I work for is in the Netherlands, and it's I can translate most emails good enough.
Nice. Awesome.
Nice. Well, to continue going on, we're going to talk today about cleaning and press books. I did pick up another book. I didn't want to get into it right now. Yeah, I think I got it for a very good price, so I'm not going to knock it. It was way under $100.
Love Solomon Grundy,
and I'm a big fan of the character as well. By far, he's my favorite of all the DC villains. Not named Floronic Man or Patchwork Man, but this is it, and it's really
nice.
It's too clean for me. So I am going to do a thorough investigation on this book. Now, I did get it at a price where even if it was restored, I'm still going to be fine. But I can't tell by turning over the first page. I don't see any marks on the inside over here. There's nothing that bled through. There's just something about this corner up here is a little too dark for me. If you could see, there's almost like a shading differential. And I haven't really done my full investigation, which we're going to talk about when we get into maintenance on your books in a little bit. And we'll talk about that. And this is a book, for example, not a Golden Age book, but something where when I got it, I says, well, it's a steal to begin with. And it's a beautiful, beautiful shape. It just looks a little too good. And if it's professional restoration, that's the problem I have.
Well, it should be pretty easy to detect if there's color touch there.
Right. I don't see the color touch. The staple's very well intact. And I'm going to show you, I've seen these books before, and I have books of this era. And what drives me even more nuts is how white these pages really are.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Yeah, and it looks good. I don't see color touch based on the turning the page over like it was a Sharpie, but I've got enough tools that we're going to talk about a little bit about maintenance in your books. Now, all four of us clean books. I know 3 out of 4 of us press books. I just started hot pressing. I was a cold presser forever, which you don't know what cold presser is you get 4 of those IDW books that are this big, and you put a book underneath it. That's all it is. And you push it out, and you leave it there for about 4 to 5 days. I'm not kidding you. That's exactly how I cold press forever. And that to me was pressing until about 4 or 5 years ago. I started hearing more and more people using the hot pressing, creating a humidity chamber, and then going into the clamshells or whatever you want to call them, your t-shirt presses. So I have used a tack iron, which I'm going to get into as well. Does anybody else here use a tack iron?
Yeah, I've got one.
I have one. I don't use it that often, but I have one.
I use the ball on it more than I use the actual iron piece, because I use the ball more to get out little things where I don't really want it to go in. A good example, if I think the staples might be a little bit questionable, I'm a big fan of using the ball as going over just what I can around the spine. But I don't mind cold pressing those books. When I put it in the press over here, I get nervous about a staple popping. And I've never popped a staple, but I have recessed one, if that makes sense to everybody. In other words, if looks on the staple actually went in a little bit too much, or the cover went a little bit over it, and it took a book that was probably a 9.0 to an 8.0. So
the thing I use my tack iron for most often is
What is a tack iron?
oh, let's show one. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me move my books out of the way. I also have my record player here. I'm a big LP fan, so I picked up 5 new LPs, 180 LPs. So okay, so this is my little thing up here. Up here are
okay.
Yep, that's a tack iron.
Like a mini iron.
Exactly. I bet you, DS, I think you and I have the same brand, probably.
Yeah, it might be the same brand. This one fucking sucks because the heat, it's either not on or it's like the surface of the sun. It's not.
Not
very sensitive.
Oh, okay. I have 3 settings on this. This is one I use here, and I'll just bring out
mine has a bunch of settings. Mine's thicker. Mine's about that thick.
Yeah, I've got 4 different tops on it. So sorry, this is going to stay here, but
since
I keep these in this little case that it comes in. I just keep it in the case so they don't move around. The middle one is the one I like to use the most. Mine
isn't handy, but I've got a nice thick heavy one. So what I use it a lot for is getting wrinkles out of the spine on square bounds.
That's where I used it. That's my first time I used it, was on a Conan giant size Conan 1. Again, square bounds didn't. Some of them, I guess, he started it, and some of them have been a little tough. Now there are some square bounds that I don't like touching, and I've actually given those to Paul to do for me. I'm not a big square bound doer, but I did do the Marvel Feature 1.
Yeah, First
Defenders, and I took a book that was probably about a 6 to a 7. But this is some of the attachments I use. You can see the size of it. Now that's more about pressing and stuff like that. But maintenance on your book. Golden Age books are tougher. In other words, they're stronger. But there's more of a chance that your staple and your cover might have a little bit more detachment if you buy a lower grade one. So Cougar Comics says, the settings gold, silver, and bronze. That would be really nice. Wouldn't you like that? What do I do for the tack iron? Because that's one thing. Well, we're going to talk about that. But cleaning comics. Let's go over that first. Dry cleaning a comic. That's the first thing you do when you get a comic. Actually, the first thing I do is inspection. I have 4 tools I use to inspect, and I'll go over them first, and you guys tell me what you use to inspect. This is not rocket surgery, what we use. No, I'll just show you right here.
Who doesn't like this topic? We already got 1 thumbs down.
What? Nobody likes us. We got a thumbs down already. Good.
Somebody's bringing their troll to the show every week. It's probably me. Might be nice. He rubs people the wrong way, too.
People don't know I exist.
So I've got about a few different ways of doing it. One, you have a small. Then I've got these glasses here.
The guru is not here. That's why.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe a thumbs down because he's not here.
Then we've got here we didn't get a thumbs down at all last week. I have glasses like this that have magnification starting at 10 times, going all the way to 40 times, and I will be using this on that book. But to have something here that I know my good friend Mike Knights has is my favorite toy of all is the Digital Microscope. For 24 bucks, whatever, $24, and I'll leave this right here. This little, I'll show you exactly how it works. I have an iPad or a tablet I enjoy using, and I use this primarily for comics and stuff. So plug in the attachment, light goes on, and I will show you. This is that same book. And you turn on the app. There's like 2 or 3 different apps you can use for this product itself. And
Those things are really fun. Just don't look at your skin with that.
What? Yeah.
Look at your body with that thing.
So this is Solomon Grundy's teeth. Now you can see right here. Now I've got to twist it to where you can see it's his teeth, but you can see how far it gets into it. It's to 10,000. It's ridiculous. It's very good, but I'm looking here. This doesn't look like color touch because everything's, got the dots, which is how I tell. That's Dr. Fate's shoe. It's just the front of his shoe. Give you an idea, that's the DC logo. That's the D in the DC logo at the top. So I use this to inspect my book. And the first thing I always do.
The dot thing doesn't work so well on Golden Age comics.
Correct. So when I look at Golden Age comics, this doesn't really help as much because I'm not more or less. I can do it with the magnifying glass or even just a 10 timer on these. And I did not bring these to a con with Paul, but I have been known to pull these things out at cons and put the lenses in. They're all in here, all the lenses in.
You just wear those on a daily basis, JD. They look snappy on you, man.
I do. I think they look better than my normal glasses.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. You look very, very steampunk and
yeah. So, but I do use these more often than most people think because I have reading glasses as well because I can't really see the book. I can't read a comic without them. So I've got 5 different pairs of ladies, the Gloria Vanderbilt collection of glasses probably. But first thing I do is I inspect a book. That's what I do. And now I'm going to hand off to you guys. How do you inspect your books? I inspect them at a con or when I get them at home, is the deep dive.
You forgot one.
What?
Blacklight flashlight.
Oh, yeah. Blacklight flashlight. Yeah. Other thing you want to always have with you. My daughter has my good flashlight for that, but I've got this. This works just as good. Is your blacklight. Now, I've turned the blacklight on this, and it doesn't show anything whatsoever. Again, I don't have my normal glasses on, my reading glasses on, but they're right here. These are my readers, and old man JD goes in and goes like this. I don't see any color touch. It's just too clean for me. I've never seen it this purple of this book. So.
Well, I'll tell you what I use.
I found a tear seal on an Avengers 1 with one of those.
Is it mine?
No.
Oh, I got a new Avengers 1. I should show that too, but I'll do that later.
The first thing I do when I get a book is inspect it as well. I don't have any fancy devices. I use my eyes and oblique lighting. I have a bright light in the room. I angle the book and I move my head around to see the oblique lighting. I look at it closely in all the areas with my eyes, and that's it. That's my visual inspection. I inspect it for resto, dirt, any type of tears, replace staples. Glue is tougher. Not all glue fluoresces under a black light, only the ones that were, I think, older and made with animal byproducts fluoresce pretty good, but you really feeling it is the best way. If you look like there's something a little sketchy and you can feel the hard sort of bumpiness surface is different when you touch it. But I have a black light flashlight. I use it rarely. I don't have a magnifying glass. I don't have fancy glasses. I don't have that microscope. I'll tell you that microscope, that is just depressing to me. because I remember when Knights got his and he was blowing up my Instagram every day, and he was in the depths of despair when he realized that there was no such thing as a good condition staple under 100 magnification. It was like freaking out about it. I mean, look, I'm not trying to make something perfect. I use my eyes, I inspect it, and I try to improve problem areas on the books and judge for myself that it's not restored or what the issues are. And then I go from there. And I don't use anything high tech. Maybe I should, maybe I could, but I'm old school. I just use my eyes. I don't, you know.
Again, I also study gemology and look at gems a lot as a side hobby as well.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that's kind of why it adds. The toys go with each other.
This is what I use for my oblique lighting because it's super bright, and I can move it around to. You know, I'm also holding the book like you said and kind of trying to get the angle. It's great for finding dents and.
Well, I'll tell you, I have one of these. This is what I do, Paul. I have one of these boards. This is like a foam board. I'll tell you what it is. These things are really good to work on as a surface. It's, you know, fairly thick. And I have one of these, and when the book's on it, you know, I'll have it, and you can have a flashlight or just the light in the room, and you can angle it and tilt it on this board. And I get a pretty good idea of where the dents are, where the dirt is, any surface materials that are on there need to be come off. So, I mean, that's all I do. You know, if I get an Action 1 in a 9.2 old holder, the first thing I'll do is go out and buy all that stuff so I can get the 9.6 instead of the 9.4. But really, I don't use a bunch of high tech stuff.
This is what I use, and I get this because I can also use it for measuring books for trimming and.
Good call. Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's nice. A lot of people use those.
I also have a dentist light, or just a magnifying light that I use. I use this more when I clean, actively cleaning. I don't actively clean with my own eyes. I always look through this. It's force of habit, and I move instead of like Knights, DS said he has this little thing like I have here. This little. Oops, sorry. Let me turn it off. This thing, I move this around when I want to move it around, so I don't have to put my hands on the book too much. But keep this thing away from the sunlight; it will start a fire or kill ants. So that's that. So the first thing you do when you get your book, you inspect it. When you want to clean your book, what's everybody's first thing they do when they clean a book?
Wait. Can I show my one main?
Yeah, show your thing. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, humidity?
Yeah.
We're going to get into humidity chamber.
Yeah, I don't use one of those either.
I'm getting one.
It's great.
Well, no.
You just put a battery in it and you're done.
Yeah, you know, ironically, I'm not that scientific about it. I feel like when I do it, the way I do it, it's more of an art than a science. Yeah, there's some science and some technical skill and stuff, but there's more of an art to it. Like adjusting the pressure on my press is different depending on the book and the defects, and it's just by feel. The humidity, I know how hot the water, how long I want to leave it in based on the type of book, the age, and how bad the bends are, what's the quality of paper. And I sort of just learn over time as it's sort of like the art of, I don't measure the humidity, but I know how to make it more humid or less humid for longer periods or shorter periods of time based on the book. And it's just from experience as I go along. And everything else in my life, I'm very scientific and OCD and diligent about it. But when it comes to this, it's more of an art form to me. And that's why it takes me longer too, because I'm not trying to rush through a technical process. It's like an art form to me. So I do a lot less, I think, than most of you guys, for better or worse.
When I get into the humidity part, I'll get into the science portion of that. When you get your book and you first want to clean it, what's the first tool you grab? There's gonna be a lot. See, I love that one. That's good.
I like that one.
First thing I personally use is a tissue or a microfiber cloth and rub it down one time, or paper towel even.
Wonder Bread?
Yep. I have one Wonder Breads here.
I'll tell you a good thing I've learned for myself. This might help some other people. For cleaning, I go from the macro to the micro. So actually the first thing I use I try to clean the big gunky stuff off, and then the less stuff, and then the dirt and the dust and pencil, and then rub it with a. But this would be the first thing I would use to scrape off, because sometimes you have gunk on there, and if you wipe the gunk, like wipe the whole book down, you're wiping the gunk around. So I get the big stuff off first, and then I usually move to this, and then I usually move to some type of cloth, and sometimes this at the end, just to get it like buff very lightly.
I use a similar knife, and I actually put a little light attached to it. Again, I use everything by light because my eyes are not very good at all. So when I do some scraping, it will have a light over it just so I know what I'm doing right there. And that's, again, I use it through a magnifier. It's just that I don't have the best eyes, and I have to. It has come in before. My favorite erasers are by Stadler.
That's good.
A handheld one, and I use the pen one. Now, just so happens that anybody who's an artist probably uses the exact same things. I use Stadler pencils. I know Chris Barrett loves these as well as I do. This is my lifeline, is this pencil. Every art I ever draw, anytime anybody asks me to do a draw, it's this. This is my pencil.
Yeah, that's good. You got different tools. Knight's got showing the exact ones that I bought. I think I'm the one that told him, but I basically have a cup of these. These are the only erasers I use. I don't have different sizes. I don't have large or small. I just have these. That's it. And I use the different surfaces of this. And when it wears down where I think it's not effective anymore, I don't wear it all the way down to the edge. They're so cheap. When it starts to get where I think it's not working as well, I just throw it out and put a new one. But these are the only erasers I use. I don't have different sizes like that, which maybe that would help, but I just use these.
Yeah, the only other eraser that's not absorbing, because absorbing Q-tips, absolutely perfect right there. This little eraser here you can pick up at a Michael's or anything else. This is what they call it's General's kneaded rubber. Knights, you probably use this. This I enjoy using on the Golden Age books a little bit more. If it's sturdy, or if it's, how do I put it? If it's almost like raised gunk, something. Yep, same thing. If it's raised gunk, as if it's like I'm going to say it, a booger that's on the book, because they're there. I'm not kidding you. There's a joke saying that there are probably more boogers on comic books than people think.
Oh, there is.
And there is, and you have to clean them off. And to get rid of the boogers, I sometimes use this instead of the Stadlers here. But erasers an absorbing acts like an eraser to a certain point of view, but that's a whole nother subject we're going to get into after that, because it leaves a mess. If you do use an eraser, Paul, I didn't ask you, what erasers do you use? Same kind, or?
I use the white ones, like you guys.
Yeah.
I use the eraser bags.
Oh, yeah. The triangle ones that have that triangle logo.
Yep, those, the dry cleaning pads.
Yep, dry cleaning pads. Yep, those things are very good. That's, again, the dry cleaning pads are you can get them on Amazon. Most of the stuff you can get on Amazon or your Michael's or any art supply store.
This will not really mess up anything.
Yeah, they're very color safe. Whereas if you screw up with one of the white erasers and get too deep into the color, you're screwed.
You clean that before, Dia?
I'm not sure. Is that the one that has the stuff inside it, like the sandpaper sort of stuff?
Yeah. Hold on, I'll show you mine.
Yeah, I was using one for a while.
Bag.
Yeah, I was using one for a while and I stopped because the stuff I use was working better, and I was using that less and less and less, so I just didn't buy another one.
I mean, it takes a long time if you want to do it, but it's for those books that are fragile.
It makes a hell of a mess too. I'm not, I can get in other ways with that. That thing makes a hell of a mess.
What about this?
And again,
people using those.
I'll spend the extra, 30 seconds brushing my teeth as opposed to a motorized one. I'll spend the extra few minutes with the eraser. It takes me a long time with these tiny ass erasers to clean the whole back of a book. But whatever, like I said, I'm just trying to get the job done, have fun, sort of meditate, and it's like an art. It's relaxing. I'm not trying to rush through it, so that's why I'm slow. But
one thing about cleaning books and looking at erasers, if you find other ones and you say, hey, they didn't have this tablet, but I saw there was this, make sure it's latex free, no matter what you do. Latex free eraser has to be your top priority, because you will rip off your eraser. Third technique, yep, I've got a few of those. I like those. There you could avoid, again, I erase differently depending on the product. I can go back and forth very close with this, but I only go in one direction with this, and I could go in both directions with an absorbing. That's only because I'm not afraid with absorbing of really taking too much color off. I'm terrified of doing it on this, but this is the most important one to get around the back. Like I always say, this is a common back in a Silver Age book. This to the top, it's going here. Anything on the front over here, I will be using something like this. Or absorbing, I can do the whole thing. Absorbing, you can put over the color, as long as you're not dragging it over there. And it's a mess. So there's two things you should have as well. A brush to get rid of all this stuff. Because if you don't remove all of it and make sure it's all off, if you were to take it with the eraser in the press, you just press that thing permanently on top of that book.
Yeah, I don't have a brush either. I use, whenever I change these out when they start to get dirty.
Toothbrush.
I'm always wearing one. The old one is what I use for a brush. And I just, so it's a brush. I mean, I'm not investing in a brush. I'll just use this and the one on my hand to lightly move everything off. And it works.
I go through more of those cotton gloves than I'd like to think about.
Yeah. The cotton gloves, I have them. Paul, you've seen me with them all the time.
Yep.
I have them. I do use those as well.
I use a makeup brush.
This is a painter's brush.
Yep, that's a fan brush.
And the fan brush in here, as long as it's soft bristle, I recommend soft bristle.
You talk about these.
That's my favorite sponge, dry cleaning sponge.
Another thing I do.
There are two kinds. There are three kinds
of brush. I have a little. It's a computer air blower.
Oh yeah.
You know,
oh yeah. Yeah.
It's. I don't use the cans because those can get cold, and you can, if you're on a brittle book, you could screw it up.
Freeze your book.
Show me that air blower thing.
It's out in the other room, so
what Paul showed, what Mike showed you was a dry cleaning sponge. And there are several different kinds. Well, really only three I consider. This one, what she has right there, this is the exact model of that. It's double the thickness, and it's a great sponge. And I enjoy using it. It's part of the process to me. I have the thinner one that comes when you order absorbing. This works. Oh, it's almost the exact same material. These are just a little bit bigger pores than this one. This one's a little tighter, and then it really tight if you use the Mr. Clean. But this is, do not touch anything but very lightly. Do you ever use this? If you push this down on top of a Golden Age book, if there was gloss, you just took it off in one fell swoop.
You basically want to lay it on your book and go and blow it off. That's really the amount of pressure you want.
Yeah, if you can pick up your book and let it just slide down. I mean, these things get dirty. They do their job. I'm not kidding you. They do their job. But I enjoy doing it. And if anything, it's just so light. Even on the white portion, because you can take gloss off with these things. I mean, they're magic erasers for a reason. I have a big case of them because my kids tend to draw on walls. And what are you gonna do?
That's the last thing I do is I use that magic eraser and I cut it into cubes.
Yep.
And what I do is I'll move it in circles across the entire front cover very lightly, and it sort of buffs it out. It's that last little bit of dust or dinginess off. This is a brand new one I haven't used yet. I just cut this today.
If you want to save yourself a ton of money on magic erasers, go on eBay and search for melamine foam. It's the same exact stuff, and you can get 100 pieces for like $10.
The other thing I use is this absorbing eraser, and I'll tell you pretty much the only thing I use it for anymore is you can see. You can see the divots in it.
Yeah.
The only thing I really use this for anymore is to clean the eraser off. That's pretty much the only reason I use this anymore. I never use it for anything else.
I like using this on this is all you need on a modern book. Because I'm usually not using an eraser on a modern book. I mean, I could take the pencil off. I could take there. This can actually take off grease pen, but be cautious with that because you'll be rubbing it for a long time. And again, I use this. Big difference. Again, one direction. I use these sponges as. I don't know if everybody else uses one direction, but I don't want to mess up the fibers in the paper. So I kind of keep it going in one direction. The only ones I don't is if it doesn't, because this actually does grab your book a little bit.
Well, the sponges like that, they were originally made for like after fires taking soot off, so they're good for anything like that kind of stuff. Which I can see grease pencil kind of has some of the same qualities.
The first time I used that absorbing sponge was on like a Bronze Age X-Men, and I did it what I thought was sort of light, and it took the gloss right off.
Yeah,
and I learned from that, and that was right when I first started. I tried different methods and different pressures of using that, and I used it less and less and less as time went on for that. But I used it more and more and more to clean the eraser because it's really good. You run the eraser over, it cleans it right off. The color comes, anything you have on that eraser, it takes it right off, so it's good.
Now, we keep talking about absorbing. This is absorbing here. You can get this Amazon, probably your best bet. And I mean, support local if you can, if you have a store that sells this. But I don't even see this at any Hobby Lobbies anymore.
Yeah,
I see
and
that a local.
It'd be twice the cost anywhere but Amazon.
Yeah, I mean and usually they come with one of their own absorbing sponge. That's different from this one. This one I like more. I really don't use this that much at all. It's in there in case I want to. I know what it does. This one, there's just a slightly difference with this one that I like using this one. And like DS does, I do cut them up sometimes, and triangles is usually what I go with, so I can keep the one direction going. And absorbing, it works like Play-Doh. This is a good example. Dirt, disgusting. This is one book. Take it in, knead it in your hands for about 15 seconds at the most. Get a shape that you're used to or you like, and decide from there. And this I could do back and forth, circle. I really don't have a problem with doing anything with these. I've never run into a problem, except this leaves so much residue behind, and it stinks. The smell is bad Play-Doh. It stinks like Play-Doh, but bad Play-Doh. And it gets really dirty quickly, and it leaves a ton of eraser shavings all over you.
I'll tell you, I've learned how to avoid the shavings. What I do before I use it, I will get a piece of it and ball it up, and I'll smash it into like a pancake, and I'll just hold it between my hands for like 3 to 5 minutes and warm it up. And then none of it comes off. It works a million times better, I swear to God, if you get it warm. You can eat it in your hands, but I just flatten it out and hold it between my hands 3 to 5 minutes, and then it warms up, and then you can roll it into a ball or a log, and it doesn't, none of the shavings come off, and it works. I don't know. It seems to go deeper into the fibers and pull stuff out better, and it's more malleable, and it doesn't leave shavings behind, and you can drag it and it won't come off. That's what I've found with the absorbing.
Yeah, eraser crumbs are my biggest pet peeve when I cleaning books. It's just they're all over the place, and I don't like them on my desk anyway. So I also have a little dustpan that goes with this. And it goes right in the trash, after every time. And I'll be cleaning books. I usually clean books between 10 and midnight my time if I'm up or something like that, or if I'm sober. I usually do most of my cleanings at that time. And
yeah, don't drink and clean and press.
Don't do that. Yeah. So we're talking about cleaning too. Anybody else have any cleaning tips or tricks they want to share? I mean, you've gotten, your microfibers, your paper towels, your tissues, you got your razors. Well, I mean, that's part of what we do. We're informative. Plus, we've got sponges. We've got a razor.
I'll do the one that I tipped DS off on.
Oh, I wasn't even going to mention that. I was just skip that because that's. But I also, before we get to that, I use cotton rounds a lot.
Cotton rounds are good makeup. They're for women's makeup.
Yeah, towards the end of the process, because these don't take much off, but they will get some stuff off. They're useful. I use these sometimes. I've got a few in here.
Cotton rounds, yeah.
But like everything else, I'm a minimalist with this, like I am with everything else. So.
All right, DS says I should shut up. We'll keep that one a secret.
Well, I mean, it's up to you. I haven't told anyone about it except you.
Come on.
It's really good, and I don't hear a lot of people using it. So I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
Keep that one quiet for now.
All right.
We don't need to give away all our secrets.
You heard it, JD.
Which one? Oh, yeah. We'll tell that later. Yeah. So now we've cleaned the book.
You have to join a Patreon at a $100 a month level to learn that secret.
You don't even have a Patreon. Yeah, I shouldn't do any of that. So we cleaned our book. Yeah, we do want to hear this secret, but Alex Comic Quarters here. I'm going to shout out the chat while we get into our next phase, which is going to be getting ready to press, not the pressing part, getting your book ready for press.
Thing right now.
So we can talk about that a little bit. Let me just shout out to many people. Like Good as Gold. You guys are hardcore. Thank you very much. Good having you here. Chris Barrett, can you eat the absorbing if you need to? Yeah.
It's a free country.
It's free country.
Help out.
Alex, the comic quarter, great having you here, my friend. Yeah, I want to hear all of Paul's secrets. So do I.
Yeah, Alex.
Review.
I've got a couple good secrets from Paul, and I've just kept them for myself. But if Paul wants to tell the world, he can, or if not, whatever. I mean, it's not something I'm sharing. I got it from him, and I keep it to myself.
Yeah, Paul, tell everybody the secrets eventually. What else? So we're getting ready to
keep tuning in here.
Yeah, it's true. Gotta keep watching here. So before you take your book after you're cleaning it, you've used all your products, you sit there, you got your book, it looks good as far as the aesthetics of it. And now you notice there's some dents and ripples and everything else like that, and you need to press your book. One of the pre-steps that is recommended, I do on, I wouldn't say every time, but if it doesn't need it on a modern, I don't do it every time. On a gold or silver or bronze, I do, is you need to have some kind of humidity chamber, or there are different ways to do it.
You're far more likely to screw up by doing humidity.
Right?
There are people there are many different methods I've seen. So actually, I'm probably very similar to DS in what he does. We do. Well, do you guys go for?
I'll show you my humidity chamber setup here.
Yeah. I have mine behind me. Yeah.
I got everything for this at Walmart. So I basically bought this big tub, which has a really nice lid, because the lid has like this foam makes a nice seal, this foam here. So when you put that on, it really seals it up nice, and then the humidity gets out. So,
yep.
And then I bought a rack at Walmart that I set inside it. So I've got a bowl that I put water in.
Okay.
Put this together as we go, sort of. So I got a bowl, I put water, and what I do really, honestly, I just at this point run the tap water until it's as hot as it's going to get, or less, depending on how much humidity I want. But I just run the tap water. I don't boil it. I don't microwave it. And then I put that in the middle. I put this over the top, and this fits in nicely. And then I have one of these chipboards that I put on top of the rack, like so. And then I have a folded up piece of paper. I need a new one. This is an old one. I put this in the center fold so it sticks out, so that when I take the book out, I can flip right to the center fold, and I don't have to handle the book too much, because it's sort of damp and your fingerprints will stick worse. So I don't try to manipulate it too much. I put this in the center fold when I put it in, so when I take it out, I can flip right to the center fold. And depending on how much humidity I need, is how much time in here and how hot the water is. I usually run about as hot as the tap water goes for like 3 hours. And the way I do it, I don't get any condensation on the top that drips. So I don't cover my book anymore. I used to at first, but the way I do it, I don't get so much condensation that it drips. It sort of steams up inside, but it doesn't get so much of the water stuck on the edges and the top that it drips. Because that's taking humidity out of the air. When you get so much that the water is dripping, you've turned it back into liquid. I'm trying to keep it in a gaseous form. So it just steams up a little bit, but I don't get any drips or droplets forming. So that's my humidity chamber setup.
Nice. Mine is almost exactly the same. However, I actually set the temperature of the water using a sous vide machine, which I also use for cooking. So it's not like I just have a sous vide machine just for this. It's a French style cooking called the water bath system. I can set it to the exact temperature that I'm pressing the comic at. So it's 120 over there. If it's 135, it's 135 here. And I usually do about the 2 to 3 hour range. I don't get condensation because I have a 55 quart. Well, it's right here. You actually see it right here. This is my humidity,
right?
I think it's the same one. Yeah, I got it at Walmart. Yeah, Sterilite. I use a Pyrex glass dish like he does underneath, and I do just a little bit of water. I mean, not that much at all. And I don't have to cover the book. I do cover the rack with a simple sheet of something that can not get wet. So I don't really, don't damp the book too much. But or does it, you want just the gas? Like he says, the gaseous form of humidity is the key to everything. Paul, your humidity. I've heard of a great one that I heard about in this book. By the way, I'm not going to plug it. I'm just going to say, how many of you guys have read this book? It's I'll show you right here.
Yeah, I have that book. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's very good. I actually enjoyed. I've read this. Reading it cover to cover first before you do anything is important. This is a newer version. I got this as a gift for someone who wants to get into pressing and cleaning. And I actually have notes in mine, and it's pretty much what we're going to talk about next is what era, golden age, what do you humid at, but we'll get into that in a minute.
I was doing it before he wrote it, so I've never bothered.
There you go, Paul. Paul's all. I've been cleaning books for a while, but again, pressing books, humidity and heat pressing. I used to make fun of people that were pressing using a t-shirt.
Doesn't he uses a t-shirt press, doesn't he?
He uses the same thing I use. I've got a the Craft. What's it called? I can't even see my glasses. It's a good one. It's
I got a crappy press. I wasn't sure how it worked.
Transfer Crafts. Yeah, I got a Transfer Crafts one. I get to go for it sets a timer and it's got the right degree. And I did get nights. I want DS. I want you to show you a little trick the when we get into the actual press part. But Paul, humidity chamber.
I've got my 100-pound beast back there.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty similar to yours. I mean, it's the same basic setup. I mean, what I do with mine, because I usually do boil the water, is when I put the cover on, I just put a towel on the cover so that it, there's nothing touching the book, but that'll catch any condensation that happens to come up.
Yeah, and I don't know if my systems, it's not right or wrong, but it's just how I do it. I adjust the temperature of the water essentially is such that I'm trying to keep all the water that's in the chamber in the air in the chamber. So in my mind, every time I see droplets dripping, that means humidity is coming out of that air and onto the side. So I've adjusted such that I never get drips, but it steams up. Is it right or wrong? I don't know, but in my mind, it makes more sense to keep all the water in the air. And I fill that bowl up about 2/3 of the way, and I use one of these just to check. I'm not real exact about it, but this is also crucial for testing your temperature in various parts of your press too.
I get into.
I have one.
So yeah, I'll test the water, and it's usually, like JD said, it's in the 120 to 140 range temperature for the water. Yeah, I mean, and I usually use hot tap water. I used to use distilled water, but honestly, I don't think it makes that much of a difference, man. I mean,
No,
The only thing that would have a
make
difference
it any
is if you,
faster.
stay in the bowl, because when it all evaporates out, the bowl has like grime on the bottom. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I send books in and get white pages all the time.
I think if you had maybe if you had water with a high mineral content, you might have an issue. But
Yeah, I mean, and look, if you can drink your tap water safely, I feel like if it's good enough for my body, it's good enough for the books. I'm not using distilled water. That's expensive, takes up space. I don't think it's necessary. I know a lot of people like distilled water. I just use tap water. I think it's fine. I haven't noticed any problems with tap water. I get white pages.
Mm-hmm. Something in the book here that brought up was really cool, and what we're doing is a seal. So the big thing that you're having with these Tupperwares, or whatever you call these things, these bins, is the seal. The seal has to be exact intact. So I've seen people use beverage refrigerators, what's called a beverage refrigerator, that there's even a picture of it in here. And I almost thought of doing this, is use a refrigerator, but they turn off the refrigerator portion of it and they get a humidity. I actually have a humidity monitor. I have to get a new one because my kids took that one because it beeps. That gives you the exact humidity that you want. When it gets there, it beeps. You can regulate, but
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit overkill. But I've seen people that use these beverage refrigerators because the seal's perfect. It's a refrigerator that, as long as it has a clear front and a light in it, so you can keep an eye on everything and keep an eye on it, and you do it. That's another method that's been known, but you'll spend $200 on.
Yeah, I mean,
when you can spend, I don't know, $14.99 and get one of these things. I have a few baker's racks that I use that have the thing fold out, and I'm closer to the water than most, but I'm farther from the top from most because I use a lower, and I use a specific temperature to do the humidity, and that's something we're going to discuss. It's different it's different for every age of books. Modern.
I'll tell you though, I don't use a humidity monitor, but the tub I have is clear like yours, JD, and I can look into it. I know, after 3 to 5 hours, sometimes I've done 7 or 8 hours, depending on the book. You can see when the book is soaking up water and it starts to have a waviness throughout. You can get a good sense after a while of when the book has absorbed enough moisture. And if it's an old book that's really dry, you won't see as much of a wave. If it's a nice, supple, sort of minty bronze book with a wave or a spine roll, it will soak up the water very noticeably. And I just get a feel for it. And I just sort of look at the book and judge how much humidity it's getting and when it's absorbed. Because the water will go into the pages and soak all the way through the book. So I'm just trying to get the water to soak all the way through the interior, all the pages. And you can see, you usually get a nice waviness to the book. And you can see it in the tub, and that's when I know it's close to time to take it out to press.
You'll see it, and as soon as you touch the book, you're like, "Yep, this is
yeah,
right."
Yep. On modern books.
Hey, I want to show the hazards of Mr. Clean. If you want a demo, real quick.
Sure. Yeah, up there. Yeah, I'll put you on the screen.
All right. So
we're back. We're going dry cleaning.
The right one to get.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
All right. Now these things, like, you don't want your kid to grab this and start pretending, they can, because it's pretty nasty stuff.
Yeah.
So we got a subby here.
Number.
It's already beat to hell, so you're not worried about it.
Committed a comic crime here, I feel like.
He had that check marked on his ID before he passed away, so it's up to us how we want to use his body for science. So yeah, I will just very lightly, and we'll see how fast this stuff.
Yeah.
Not too bad, but
it's a black color, yeah.
But that gloss is gone.
There we go. It's gone now. Yeah, it might be hard to
completely gone.
But it's basically there's now a thin, like cloudy layer, and you could see scratches. And if I look with this guy, yep.
See the
So
scratches on
the
the
other
cover.
side, it's the color is a lot more vivid and contrasty. And then here we got tons of white. You could just tell like almost ripped off. And then you could also see on this, it's a little.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you guys can't. Well, yeah, you could see that.
You can see it,
Yep.
yeah.
That's a bad sign. And you know, when I was just cleaning my, I grabbed these dirty pulps. I never clean these things, and I don't press or nothing like these guys. I would never willingly put my book near water, but with these, like, I love these soot. They're sometimes called soot eraser, but
right, erasers or dry cleaning sponge.
But they're really pretty safe if you're and you'll feel it. It's like really awesome. But what I like to do is I'll look at it in the magnifying glass just to make sure it's clean, and then I'll just rub ever so slightly, and then check out on here. If that starts getting dirty, I'm doing something, then I'll look at this again to make sure, see what the effect is, and then I'll keep going back and forth, and then I'll keep cutting this away because I know I don't like rubbing. You know, if I have dirt on an eraser or anything, I try to not have that be in contact again with the comic because you might rub off some bad crap on there. Anyway.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's effective. I don't use that thing anymore at all, but I think it has its uses. Yeah.
What would you use on that?
As Diaz and I have discussed a number of times, you will not find a single cleaner presser who does everything the same as another cleaner presser.
Yeah. I think one of the things that the differential we have, the different ways we clean.
You got to tell me. So what would you use?
I would use absorbine. I like absorbine on Golden Age books. I'm not afraid of it.
I would definitely use the sponge, and I would use the what is that stain?
It looks
is that water stain or is it actual dirt?
No, exactly. But
I would use honestly like the white eraser, but
Stadler.
I would go so light. I would just hold it like this so that it's like so loose.
Yeah.
Just like move it around that spot, and you can probably get a lot of it off. And then I would use absorbing putty. But like I said, I warm it up in my hands, and then I would I would sort of knead it in and push it across and sort of knead it down, and then refold it and knead it across and refold it. And look, there's a trade-off for cleaning because for me, sort of the philosophy is less is more. Once you get to a certain point of diminishing returns, you have a risk of damage that is much higher than any further reward you're going to get. So when that reward diminishes down to a very small degree and the risk is still high, I stop. Now that means some stuff's not going to come off and it's not going to be perfect, but I'm not trying to damage a book. So there's a trade-off. The more you try to clean, the more risk of damage. And sometimes I know all people who have cleaned books this has happened to. You think you can get something out, you try so much stuff, and then at the end you look at it and you realize you've scraped the shit out of that paper and it's fucked. And yeah, it's a delicate balance for cleaning. There's a trade-off, I think, sometimes. That's
I've seen,
everybody makes mistakes. Any person tells you they're perfect, they're lying.
One crazy thing about Golden Age, I've followed a couple restorers over the years and looked at their like blogs and whatnot, and I've even looked into some like paper conservation stuff, and it's pretty well known that in the Golden Age there's so many different like paper stocks, print. Like the way they did things back then was kind of like, you know, more mom and pop, kind of like we print it this way on this stuff.
Well, you know, have one printer printing the books for all the different companies.
And so you really have to do it by case until you're like, you know, super familiar. And even then, sometimes you'll see people be like, I've never seen a Batman one that's almost with this color or this color strike, or you know, it's almost as if was at a different printing place, which it can happen sometimes. Martin Goodman did that. So
One of my favorites was
that's
professional ones is Mike DeChillis, who does what's his company called? Hero Restoration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool.
He's by
my
you.
guru
Right?
is Susan Ciccone.
Oh, that's the Connecticut.
She's been doing it for 40 years now.
Out of Connecticut, though, right? She's the
I
book
think
cleaner?
so.
Yeah.
But
then
that's my next big step. I'm starting to.
there's Joey down in Sarasota, Florida, who literally hand walks his books over to CGC.
You know, one thing though, because I was gonna use some restoration perhaps, or like a presser even for some expensive Golden Age stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed as if every single person with a known, who's known, will have a couple bad stories. So I don't think anyone's perfect. And like you said, everyone makes mistakes.
I'll tell you, cleaning for me, again, everybody's different. Everybody has their own techniques, and that affects your risks and your damages and your benefits and all that. But for me, cleaning is far riskier and far more dangerous than my pressing. My pressing is, I never damage a book anymore. I only did initially when I was learning it, but it's been a long time. I'm pretty confident pressing anything that is not a brittle, loose, rusted staple piece of junk. I never pop staples. My pressing, I feel, is hardly any risk anymore, whereas my cleaning has a lot of risk to it because you're really close. You're pushing a lot of things right on the paper, moving it around. I mean, you can catch those corners by the spine and you tear that, and you can rub off gloss, and you can get down into the paper, and you can get absorbing stuck on some areas. And cleaning's riskier. I mean, it's much more dangerous than pressing for me.
Especially,
I turned down a chance to press an AF-15 because the pages were brittle. I was like, I am not touching it.
I turned down one book. It was brittle. It had, the staples were barely hanging on. I mean, probably it's the type of book that CGC would detach from grading. They would pop a staple, which they did.
And I wouldn't.
By the way,
I cleaned a Wonder Woman number 8, I think, but I wouldn't press it because the staples were just barely hanging on. I'm like, I'm not.
First paragraph, nice.
I've pressed pretty low grade stuff, 1.5 to 2.5 range, like Golden Age, PCH, pretty tattered low grade stuff. And I haven't had any problems. And I'm only one I turned down from somebody that was clearly brittle pages and the staples were iffy, and it was a rag, and that was the only one I declined to press. But I've pressed a lot of low grade stuff. I haven't really had any issues with it.
One of the issues I've had with cleaning, I think cleaning, DS is going to hit the nail on the head, and I was going to bring this up. I think cleaning is more riskier, is riskier in general than the actual pressing portion of it. Because, just an example, this is not going to worry about this, it's just a book. If you're doing the edge of it and you catch it going the other way, you flip it up, you just could cause a rip anytime you come back down. That's why I always say one direction away from the comic book, and don't come back too close, because you don't know, you're trying to judge whether it be the pencil or this eraser or even the sponge or even a paper towel or a napkin or even a microfiber. You don't want to pull back and cause the top of the book or the side of the book on the edges to fold in or rip a tear. And we're talking books from the Golden Age here, cleaning and doing Golden Age books in particular. Not their own thing.
When I'm cleaning, I'll have one hand like this holding the page flat, because if you have the slightest wave or anything, it can catch on it. I just hold it flat as I can get it.
That's what I have a folding mechanism where I use cardstock, 120-pound cardstock on top of the book, and I hold that down with this while I do everything with my other hand.
Yeah, the only thing
I tore one book
using the dentist lamp and everything else. So
I tore one book cleaning the back cover. It was one of mine, and I said,
I destroyed my FF49. I destroyed mine.
I did my Iron Man Submariner 1.
I didn't do mine by cleaning. I did mine by DS knows exactly what I did, because I tell about it all the time. The first time I bought 4 milliliter Mylar, totally razor bladed.
Yeah, dude, that stuff's dangerous on the
FF49. It's at CGC now, And easily it was a 6.0 that is a complete 2.0 right now because I took off chunk up the top and it took off the bottom when I tried to, stop. And I pulled it back out and went, caught it on the way down and the way up. Let me shout out to Ed who showed up. Like I said, Alex, the Comic Quarter, great having you here. Comic Books NYC Copy, great having you here. You did an art earlier tonight. I did not get a chance to watch it yet, but I will definitely going to be watching that on the rewind. It's one of my favorite shows. Boy who had 7, Matty, how are you, buddy? He says hello to everybody. As always, he's such a class act. And now we've got anybody else new? I saw somebody else I didn't see. If I missed you, I apologize. Yell at me. Anyway, that's so now we've gotten to the point where we've done the humidity, but there's a step that we kind of skip, but it works now. Whether you do it before the humid or after the your humidity chamber, hand tooling is a phrase, and hand tooling. Nice how we're talking. DS and I were talking earlier. I have a subby one that the golden age. I mean the silver age one. Whatever it is, silver or bronze, the silver age one, that has a full name, address, and phone number of somebody that is indented on the cover with marble all right over his crotch. And I've showed these guys the picture.
Oh yeah.
There are different tools you can talk about. We talked about tack iron. That is a hand tool. I use the ball to get rid of indents. I use a ping pong ball. DS uses a marble.
Well, I'll tell you what this is. I got it from, sometimes people have a vase with fake flowers and they put all these little blue marbles in the pot or the vase to fill it up, and then they stick stuff in it. That's what this is. It's smaller than a marble, but it's a little glass ball, and I'll just use this on the inside of the front cover to push out tight indentations. Sometimes somebody pressed a book before and left a piece of dirt on it, and it makes a dimple. Those are tough. Pencil writing, you can erase the pencil, and I'll usually push this out first and then erase the pencil because you can get to it easier. But yeah, very small dimples and tight indentations I will roll out from the inside with this. Yeah, ping pong ball works. I use this. It's pretty small, and yeah, it works.
And I just roll it around on the back, go over it like that. I go on the inside cover, make sure it's there, and then you can do it on the front cover too and around it. But you really want to do on the other side. But be careful because you're opening your book, you're exposing yourself. Again, hand tooling is a risk versus reward. When you have a book, we're not saying every book you have to clean and press and do everything if you want to submit this thing to CCGC or just clean and press for your own purposes. Actually, I clean and press. I try to clean every Golden Age elephant cover or every book I get first. Even the Wonder Woman where I did there, but then I take a break and I look at it, said, some of them I look at it, said, it's just not worth it for me to get in to really clean that one spot off. It's going to take a lot of time and everything else. I'm going to take a break from it and deal with it. Risk reward, cleaning and hand tooling.
Actually, I built a contraption. To hold the book open without any stress to it, so I don't have to handle it when I use this ball. And I'll show you guys if you want to see it.
Great. Let's see.
It's kind of cool. I've used it a couple times.
And shout out to everybody in the chat who's sticking with us on this one. I know it's not exactly a Golden Age book one, but this is something where we're showing our different tricks and stuff that we call it maintenance on our books. Because even if we do or do not submit it for grading, we all clean our books. Because you want to keep your books clean.
Well, that requires you have to crack it out of the slab.
I don't really buy a lot of slabs, so I buy more raw than I do. Way more. I don't really like buying slabs because I think I'm paying a premium for it.
All right, so what I'll do is I'll use this thing. It's just a board with a slit. I made a slit on the bottom here to fit the book through, and then the other part's flat. And I just used a shipping box for this. And I'll usually put a backing board on this side and a backing board on the bottom. I'm not going to do all that right now, but I don't put the book raw on this cardboard. And you just have to be careful loading it, essentially, which I'm not doing right now because this book's not worth anything. But that book loads in so that the back is there.
Nice.
This is the front cover. Here, you can see the front cover.
Yeah.
And it keeps it nice and flat. And then you know, I can work on this with this ball without handling it. And it's, you know, when I turn it towards me, it's a nice little workspace. And you can work on issues on inside the front cover, you know, without having to handle the book or worry about the spine or the cover. It keeps everything straight and nice. And then the only thing you have to do is be careful when you're unloading it. But the way I have it, it comes out pretty good. And this will be before press. And, you know, so yeah, this is a little thing I made here.
That's cool.
Very cool. Very good idea. Trademark that sumbitch.
Yeah, I mean, I used a shipping box. It took me a few tries to sort of engineer the right dimensions on this thing. But yeah, it's a nice little workspace, and you can just work from this side on the inside of the front or back cover without damaging or handling the rest of the book. I think it works good.
As great. As we discussed earlier, another hand tool is a tack iron, and it depends on how you want to do it. I happen to enjoy. I really like this, especially the ball feature, which is this is the little ball. It does the same thing that DS is doing with the marble, or I was doing with the ping pong. But if I've got the humidity chamber and I've already gone through the humidity chamber, right, I'm going to use this. If it's before, and I don't think I'm going to press the book, if I could push that thing out, or I'm going to press the book. And if it's in the humidity chamber, I'm going to use this. If it's not in the humidity chamber, I'm just going to mess around with this until I can push it out. This is all before we go into the press. But I do like to hand tool a tack iron. I'm not saying it's mandatory or anything else like this. From my personal experience, it benefits itself. These aren't that expensive. They're maybe 20 to 30 bucks, give or take. If that, maybe 35, I think is really. Paul, you said you have a really high tech one.
Yeah, and I think I only paid like 25 bucks for it.
Right. Yeah.
$12.99 for mine, and it sucks.
Yeah.
$12.99. Pay 25 or 30 or whatever.
Yeah, you get this one. You got the 3 settings. You got 5 different covers here. One thing we didn't talk about was an Exacto knife. I consider that a hand tooling, but at this point in the process, after I've cleaned it, and I see some other things, an Exacto knife is kind of important as well. Just to move, if you know what you're doing, just get that last bit of stuff around. I use an Exacto knife. Paul, I'm sure you do it just before you press the last bit of step of.
A brand new one can scrape off lots of stuff with barely any pressure.
Yeah, I mean, you can. I think Exacto knives. I mean, my knife it's sharp as hell, but it's no Exacto knife. There's something about those thin blades that. So I do use an Exacto knife as well. I've got a couple of different kinds. A dentist kit. Here's something.
Picks.
A home dental kit with the mirror, with the little pliers on it, little tweezers, and the scalpel that's in there. That little kit, I've seen people talk about that, and I discussed it with one of the professional restoration removal people, because we were talking about removing restoration on a book that I had, professional restoration on a book, and he said if you know the Exacto knife could do it, and he explained to me that that's how they get rid of a grease pen. Paul, I don't know if you ever use that.
Not on grease pen. I mean, I've definitely used it. And I've found the dental picks. I've used them on either little pieces of dirt or something. If it's embedded into the page, it's real easy for just get right underneath it and pulling it up. Like you could do it with an Exacto knife, but I find it easier with a dental pick.
Nice.
You can also get plastic tools if you don't want to, say, scrape a staple or something, you know.
And I use steel ball bearings for the.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's for your marble ball bearing. I've seen people use ball bearings. I've seen somebody use. This is something I was going to attempt to do this week. They put a heavy washer like this, and this is all it is just a heavy washer with a screw in there. And they put a marker or something in there as a roller and like a rolling pin back and forth. And I was so impressed by what the result was, I was going to try that this week. So I picked up something where I use that, and I haven't found the right size to do it in, other than I found it in a tire pressure. It's perfectly on top of a tire pressure right here. And they roll up like they're rolling dough or something. It's a new technique. It's just another way of just removing the indentations on a book.
We MacGyver a lot of stuff.
We do. Everybody has their own way of doing things. And that's exactly what I was going to say. We're not telling you how to do it. We're showing you what we do when we do our maintenance. And again, I'm not plugging the book. I'm not getting anything for this book. This book is really good to give you an idea of what to do. But the other tool that you need as a hand tool is practice. Practice. One of my favorite things to get in practice is get a box of Drek. Every age. If you can find age Drek, I mean Drek books from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and get Drek of every kind.
And if you have Drek in your collection, do things to it. Like I'll take a book that's not worth anything, I'll fold over the cover, old Marvel tales that are beat to shit work great because they're literally 1972, 73, 70, 71. Again, unfortunately my Silver Age is there, but I'm a much more of the Golden Age, obviously, but the Bronze, the early pre-75 Bronze, 70 to 75 Bronze are my favorite books to work with, but they're the most, I don't know, are they your most fragile, Paul? What's that?
What era would you think be the most fragile of the bunch?
Late Silver, early Bronze.
Early Bronze is my pet peeve. Late Silver square bounds, hate them.
I'll tell you, for me, it's definitely Silver Age from beginning to end. Here's the thing about Silver Age. That paper, the way it's made, especially Marvel silver, if you put too much moisture in it, the paper shrinks. You can moisturize the hell out of late bronze. It doesn't seem to really have any effect. But you put just a little too much moisture on a Silver Age book, that paper shrinks. And then you sometimes will get a curl, or it has a weird warp, or it's just offset or something. It looks and feels wrong if you put too much moisture on a Silver Age. Early Bronze, same deal. It's just like slightly better than Silver Age. The best, copper's pretty easy. I mean, copper is pretty good, but I don't press that much copper. Late Bronze, Marvel, the best, man. That stuff is so fun. You can press 5/0s into 9/8s in Late Bronze. It's so awesome. Yeah. Late Bronze.
Which is now modern, which is hysterical. I didn't know CGC did this. I'm an idiot. I did not know that they moved back the modern age to 75.
Oh wow.
I think that's because everybody else was doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't consider there's light years difference from books in 1977. Those books could take a beating. That's why there are so many 9/8s of that era. There are a ridiculous amount of 9/8. The disparity between 1970 to 75 and 75 to 78 or 79 or 80 is so dramatic.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, I love paying paying the modern grading fee.
It's great now.
Yeah, Champions 1, Avengers 196.
Miss Marvels are great.
I sent probably 4 books in the order that I'm getting tomorrow that would not have been modern a couple of years ago.
Oh, so do you have moderns coming back tomorrow?
Yep, it's 25 moderns coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got
That's all stuff I'm probably gonna flip, except for
I just sent 14. Yeah, I just sent 14 moderns in, key, hot, whatever you want to call them, books. But like the early 70s books, the Conan, like we were talking about this book earlier. This is Conan 3. Yeah, I got these 2 indentations here that are so close to the staple. I'm afraid to get. I don't know how I'm going to get them out, but I might have to rewatch this and watch how DS jerry rigged a whole new.
My 3 is a 9.6, and it's got a couple indents that I think I'm probably going to CPR it.
Yeah.
What's good about getting out stuff by the spine, though, also on those books, is I use 2 pieces of printer paper, and I cut each one for the staples.
Yep, that's my favorite thing you do. Yep.
I use two pieces of printer paper, and then you can get this all the way to the spine when you put it in and curl it. It goes in. It's got cutouts for the staples, and these two pieces will curl all the way to the middle of the spine, and it really gets out spine dents good. And if you do that on the front and the back, really works good. I actually use 3 pieces on each side for my Wolverine limited series. One.
Oh, the Frank run? Yeah.
It's square bound, obviously, but it seems like it's got sort of a thicker, robust spine, and it was flattened and it had dents. I put 3 pieces inside the front and the back cover, and it almost like raised the spine back up and fluffed it out, and it was beautiful. I still think it should have been a 9.8, but CGC gave me a 9.6. But man, it came out beautiful with 3 pieces of printer paper. I usually use 2.
I have I'm similar with the printer paper. I use 2 different grades though. I use 110 pound, and I use 60 and 30 pound. So I use just different thickness is what I use in different areas of the book on different eras of there. It's different for everything, and I want to stress that while we're talking about Golden Age a lot in here, we're all giving you guys ideas of there's a big difference between pressing a book from 1945 than pressing a book from 2005, 75, 85, 65. It's way different every time. And these guys, some of the guys, like Paul has pressed books for me, and I kind of pick his brain because I knew how to do it, but I was always there. But we're going to talk about that part next. Is your press?
Wait a minute, I got a question about cleaning before we go. So what would you say a book that is a little dirty, like how much could a cleaning bump it up? Like say you, I don't know, had some easy to remove smudges or whatever the hell would be on there, and you sent that in versus you got it all off with the stuff we've been talking about, nothing too invasive.
If it's a modern book and you're cleaning it, fingerprints and stuff like that, I only say a half grade, maybe a grade at that.
Yeah, I honestly, other than the only cleaning things I've seen in graders notes, and I've sent enough books in now with various dirt and cleaning issues. Fingerprints will always end up in the graders notes. Foreign substance on the cover, that kind of like stuff that's actually like gunk. But when you have like that on the back of the bronze books, that sort of dirty, dusty look near the spine, if it's a mid-grade, I don't think that affects the grade at all, whether it comes off or not. Most of the time, it just makes it look more presentable. But as you get up into the VF range, I think it can really have an effect of like a point to a half a point to get it nice and clean. Yeah, exactly what Knights is showing. But if you have something that's raised on the cover like gunk, that will hurt the grade. And if you have fingerprints, but other than that, I mean, I feel like it doesn't really affect the grade until you get like BF or higher. Then it makes a difference.
And then another one, how could you tell by looking at a slab? What are some of the telltale signs that that book is probably not pressed, or that book was probably pressed and there's nothing you could do to really...
Spine roll is number 1. Hands down, spine roll. If I see a spine roll in a book, that's, again, not... If I see a major spine roll in the book and you look at the waves in it, again, they're putting it in a Mylar. I don't have one here, but they put it in this, something really strong like this in there, and it pushes it down, and I understand that, but you can tell on the angle. Again, Newton Ring sometimes plays tricks with the eyes, but I always say there's still a spine roll a little bit level, or if the edges you see non-color breaking creases around the 2 far corners, not the staple side, the open side. If you see that to me is not pressed, because that's very common. Or, and I kid you not, dead center of the book right here on the spine is my telltale sign. If I see someone who held it like that and read it like this, you can tell that very easily on there. Those are the only ways I personally know.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I do generally from photos is I'll look at the back cover, and if it looks dirty, then it hasn't been pressed. Nobody cleans a book and doesn't press it, or presses a book and doesn't clean it. Old holders with visible dirt, even a little bit, that means it hasn't been pressed. And from photos, you can't, at a con, JD, you're right, you can look and you can judge that kind of stuff much better. But photos on eBay or something, it's hard to judge, but you can usually see the dirt. The dirt means it also hasn't been pressed. And if it's an old holder, 99.9% chance has not been cleaned or pressed. And then it just depends on what's the book and the grade. If I have like a 9.0 with no spine ticks, that means most of the defects are not structural probably. And if it's dirty and it's in an old holder and it's a 9.0, you know, that's a really good CPR candidate for me.
CPR is cracked.
I was saying.
Yeah, I can't always tell you how I can tell if a book has been pressed or not, but you just do it long enough and you start looking at it, and I would say I'm probably 90% of the time I'll get it right, whether it's been pressed or not.
Yeah, I mean, the rule of thumb is just go with an old holder and it hasn't been pressed 95% of the time.
Yeah, pressing wasn't even a real thing until relatively recently.
Yeah, that definitely could be pressed.
That's not been pressed.
Yeah, there's no way that's been pressed.
I would do probably one quick pass with a hand steamer, though, because that silver age will shrink. I would just do one quick
I would put that in the humidity chamber,
Yeah, I would do one quick pass or not get it majorly wet and then press it and see how it comes out.
Mine looks a little dodgy.
A lot of stuff on it.
You can use a hand steamer. We never talked about that. There's hit or miss on hand steamers. Some people like them. Some people
I'll never
don't.
use one.
They do spit water. There's always a chance of that. I personally did it once. Didn't really like the result. I didn't think I was getting my bang for the buck with the humidity. I kind of think I just damped the book, not even got the humidity to where it was going to up there. I would put that in a humidity chamber on a lower, maybe 100 degrees at the most, and do it for maybe an hour and a half just to see what I could get out of it. It wouldn't shrink enough then, DS, I guess, the science of it, but I would also press that book at a little higher temperature.
Yeah, I would use a hand steamer on it. I would do one quick pass, not get it real wet, just one quick pass over the cover, front and back, and then I would press it. I would probably use 135 degrees on it for 10 minutes. I would leave it in overnight. I would take it out, and it probably will need another press. But that book doesn't look like it has many warps, so I wouldn't use a humidity chamber because it's just got wrinkles to the cover, I feel like. So you might have to flip it and press the other side. But yeah, that's how I would do it.
What would that even do? Would that bump the grade up?
Yeah,
that would go. That's a full grade plus.
But I would figure probably a full grade would go.
Yeah, I mean that looks like it's 2 range. 1.8 to 2. I would think or maybe even a 3, depending on the structural issues.
Yep.
I had a red seal, golden age red seal issue that looked exactly like that, and I thought it was like a 2.0. And I pressed it, it came out good. And they gave me a 3.5 from CGC. So I got what I thought was a 1.5 from a wrinkled ass cover like that.
What about that piece of tape?
The tape, it's just there. I mean, you don't want to burn it into it. I don't know, Paul, what's your opinion or DS, what's your take on dried tape on which I mean by dried tape is really no bearing on the book, but tape on a book that you're about to press on an AF-15. I'm not saying it's let's talk about it. It's one of the top 5.
I've pressed over AJSMs with tape on the cover and like that, not that much maybe, but at 135 degrees is not going to do much to the tape. At worst, it might come off. So I don't feel like there's much downside.
I mean, I hear people doing 175, 185, and I just don't do it.
That's too high. Paper with that I don't use that high of a temperature.
The highest I ever do is 135. That's like my standard. I go down to 120 on modern glossies.
I do moderns at 100. I don't even go. I go 100 degrees for moderns, and I do 135 pretty much everything else. Sometimes I go up to 140 for a very robust bronze book with some deep stuff, and then I'll really crank it up to like 150.
I also do moderns without going into a humidity chamber, without dampening them at a lower temperature.
Brown.
What about what?
That brown there.
Well, that's probably
It's
the
gonna
tape
still need-
itself. I wouldn't touch it. You know.
It's probably the old tape, maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't touch it.
That's what I'm saying. There's a trade-off. What I would do, less is more. I would press that at a low heat and improve the grade, and you add a lot of value to that book. I wouldn't be trying to make it perfect. I wouldn't be messing with the tape. I'm not a professional. I would just try to make it better. If you can make that better, it improves the value a ton on that. If you get a point on that book, it's like $8,000 or something.
Yeah,
So,
it's ridiculous. It's almost, I
Right
think,
there.
yeah, it's $7,500 to $10,000 a grade, a point.
yeah, I would just press it on low heat, get the wrinkles out, and try to bump it a point, a half point to a point, and be done with it.
When
Here's
you get
something.
out.
DS, do you flip your books or do you? I have a steel plate I put on the bottom of my press.
I have a steel plate, but sometimes I have to flip them anyway because it doesn't get as much heat on the bottom. And I usually, whatever side I put towards the top is the side with the most pressable defects. So if it's the back,
Exactly.
and then the other side gets less heat. Sometimes, like I had a Champions Defenders 10 in the press right now. I pressed it with the top cover up, and it had some really strong creases on the back as well. Those didn't come all the way out. So today I flipped it over and put it back in the press, or last night I did. When I took it out, now the back cover is perfect. So that Defenders 10 now, I had to press it twice. Took me like a day and a half total, and flip it, and it came out nice. I think it's like a 9.2, 9.4 range now, whereas before it was like an 8.0, 8.5, I think.
Nice. I do recommend if you do get a press, a clamshell. I have a straight up and down clamshell. I don't have one of those that move around. I do a 15 by 15.
Resellability, though, I can say never been pressed.
Yeah.
That only counts if it's already slabbed. Because if it's not slabbed, nobody cares.
Yeah, but you know, I'm actually going to buy a new press at some point, and yeah, the press I'm buying, it's kind of expensive, but it has really reliable made in USA heating from the top, and you can buy an accessory plate for the bottom that also has heat, so it heats both equally at the same time, and you can alter the temperatures from the top and the bottom. I really think that's going to be good. It's kind of pricey though; it's like $1,000. I don't know if I want to spend $1,000 on a press, but the one I have is crap. So,
so this is that ball I was telling you about that I use. This has become my favorite thing to do work on spine ticks on a book where I may or may not want to put it in the press. I haven't decided yet. We're talking golden age now. If I think I could help it out a little bit with this, but I don't know if I want to turn on the risk of popping a staple. I will use this the most often.
What do you do with that?
This goes into the tack iron.
Oh,
And it just exactly like it sounds. It's a roll
kind of
ball,
roll
right?
it around.
Yep. Just go it around. Just keep going back and forth until you can get at those ticks here and there on the cover if you wanted to. It worked very well.
And it'll disappear.
Yeah, I took a book that had it was a 3.0 staple, kind of just hanging on by a thread. Like the cover just hanging on by a thread. I didn't want to pop it in any way. And I got a 4.5 out of that Erie 17, and this was the only pressing. I used both this head, the smaller one for the corner, and this to get out of all the indentations there. That had a lot of tape on it too, and I thought I could scrape off some of the tape. And I asked people, I've asked 3 or 4 people about getting rid of tape. Tape removal is a whole nother world, and I'm not ready. Paul, I don't know if you've ever done resto removal, tape removal on a book, but I just said forget it. I can't get rid of tape.
It's one of the things I'm experimenting with, because that's my next step. Is I'm starting to get into some conservation and restoration techniques, and I'm still at the point where I'm only playing with my own books. I won't do it on anybody else's books.
I don't know if it's a book. If it's a book I'm flipping and has tape on it, like I've had some Silver Age ASMs, lower grade with tape. I don't mess with it. I press them and clean them and try to bump them up a little bit, send them in, get them back, and flip them. And whatever, it's got tape on it. People like tape. People hate tape. People want to get it taken off. Whatever. I don't mess with all that. For books I flip, I'm just trying to improve the value enough to make a profit. With books I keep, I don't really, the tape doesn't bother me. Now, if it's tape all the way up and down the spine, I probably won't buy the book in the first place. But tape doesn't bother me that much. So, I mean, I'm the minority probably.
If it doesn't really seal, if the tape is holding the whole book together, and if it's old enough, they're not going to care. If it's newer, that's you got your own problem. This is an example of a book that's not been pressed. It's a 4/5 white page Avengers 1.
Great.
4/5. It's just not been pressed, and it's all the defects, dirt in the back, like DS said. There's a bunch of dirt spots here. The waviness here, right there. It needs. I won't be doing the cracking the CRP on this one. CGC is going to do it for me because I can't stress this anymore. They're doing 50% off. So I could get a standard level press, clean, everything for this book alone for under $100, shipped and all. But I just do one book. And it's 50% off. So this would be a standard level, right? Because it's Avengers 1.
Yeah. $35.
That would be 65, 67. Or whatever it is. That's the normal price, I guess, with the discount I get.
And half off because it's in that other.
Yeah, the only thing you don't get half off of is the cleaning, but I don't really care. I want it.
What about the insurance and all that stuff, though? It's got to cost some money.
No. What, postal insurance?
You just claim it as like $100?
No, I use the post office. If you use the post office, it's up to $1,000. If you use UPS, I wouldn't use UPS for this because UPS, you have to buy the insurance extra, or you can go to a third-party insurance company. There's plenty of those.
But I thought you have to declare how much it's worth, and then they.
Yeah, I mean this is a standard. This isn't a value or an economy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
So you have value, economy,
$1,000 and above.
Standard, 3,000 is
3,000
standard. Everything above 3,000 is walkthrough. So
I think standard is 1,000, express is 3,000, and walkthrough is 5,000.
Yeah, this would probably be express, but you get half off. That's the best part.
Yeah.
Because it's already graded.
And 4/5. I sent a 4/5 in, and I pressed out all the defects. Came out pretty nice, and I still got a 4/5. I also cracked a CBCS white pager, and I could tell right off the bat it wasn't even close to white pages. It was like off-white at best. And when I sent that in, sure enough, it came back off-white. So the CBCS white page kind of scares me sometimes. I don't think it's white.
Yeah, I debated on white pages myself. But the other thing I debate about it is I don't care if it gets – I don't want it to get lower than a 4/5, but I want to take advantage of that. Literally the only thing on it is the spine here and 2 Marvel chipping marks. But other than that,
CGC 4.5 is going to be worth more than that anyway, so you can't lose.
Right. So, I mean, it won't. I don't think it'll get worse than what it is because.
Yes. Sometimes I remember in the past, and maybe I'm wrong, but you would submit some books and just not really declare it as high as it should be, and then
Yeah, I do it all the time.
But I wonder, have they ever changed that on you and be like, well, this book's worth way more. You better pay up.
I don't do it anymore because I'm not willing to take that risk with the books. I was trying to save money and be a cheapskate, and I don't do that anymore. But I was sending in massive books under $200 under the value tier, and they never did anything. I sent a Suspense Comics 8, LB Cole book. It was like a 3.0. It's like $8 book. I sent that in under value and for $200, and they didn't give me a problem. That was a $2,000 book. I sent big books under value, and I've never had a problem. I just don't do it anymore because I'm not trying to be a cheapskate, and I want everything fully taken care of. But yeah, never once have they ever contacted me to say that was wrong. Not once ever.
All right, before we wrap up here, we have to talk.
I got more questions.
Okay.
What about that stain with the humidity? Blah blah blah. Get rid of that
No, you clean first. You clean it first before you wouldn't clean a book after you use it in a humidity chamber.
Look, Mike, that book is maxed out at about a 2.5 to 3.0. It's never going to get higher than that based on the issues.
Not with that chip there, yeah.
2.025. It's about maxed out.
Extensive restoration, 9.9.
Yeah, go for it. You can do it, I guess.
Yeah, if you want to do that, yeah. I mean,
And I wonder. So one thing I really like about this issue actually is the color. Those reds, they're really nice.
Beautiful red.
I wondered, is any of the stuff you guys have been talking about ever affect the colors or anything?
Yeah, if you not the pressing part, but the cleaning part, the dry cleaning, yeah, you can screw up big time on the coloring. You can not absorbing, not with this, but the white eraser.
Well,
you use this on anything close to the color, you're going to run into problems. Never with this have I ever lost any color or anything, or not even any gloss. But I've never really smashed it into a book either. But
I wouldn't use that on his AF-15 though, because
AF-15 is
the issues it could tear if you're.
I wouldn't touch AF-15.
I would do a light cleaning on it, and then I would press it, and I'd be done with it. You mess around too much with that, you're going to tear it. You're going to make it worse. What you want to do is just get it looking flat, essentially, and sub it. And you're probably maxed out at like 2.0, 2.5 on that anyway. So what you want to do is get to 2.0 or 2.5. So you just want a presentable, flat, good copy. I wouldn't clean the hell out of it and go nuts. I wouldn't press the hell out. I would just try to get the wrinkles out, get any major, obvious, easy problems for cleaning and clean it. But I wouldn't be doing a massively in-depth cleaning on that book because you're going to get 2.5. I mean, you're not going to get a 5.0 no matter how clean it is. So why take the risk?
That's a great point, and that's the part we're coming up to last, but about the pressing. I call it a stack. I don't know what you guys call it. You don't just take your book and put it into a t-shirt press and close the lid. That you're not doing that.
Don't.
No. We've seen people do it on other channels. I know that.
You can tell the books people have done it on, though. When you see it, you can tell.
You could
really smashed and pointy.
It just doesn't make it. It makes no sense how the book looks. I use. I don't know if you got what do they call this? SRP, silicone
release.
I think that's a Teflon.
Teflon sheets of this. I don't like this texture of this. And sometimes this can indent into your book. So what I do is I have thin. Well, you go thin copy paper. I use the very thinnest one I have, and I put 2 of these, and I put a I'm going to say this, non-glossy. I can't stress this enough. Do not use any glossy paper or backing boards in this process. So I want to hear the other 2 guys, what are your stacks? How do you stack a book?
Well, I use silicone release paper, which is not reusable. So I cut this in half, and one goes on the bottom and one goes on the top, and the book goes right on this. So this goes on the press, and the book goes right on this. Now inside the book, I have 2 pieces of printer paper inside the front cover, 2 pieces of printer paper inside the back cover, and a half-back magazine size board inside the centerfold to keep the staples from smashing through the paper. It basically keeps it buffeted so that it's the same thickness as the staples, so it keeps it nice.
And that's a Gerber halfback, right?
I use halfbacks. I don't use fullbacks for the middle. I just use a halfback.
It's still a Gerber halfback, though, right?
No, BCW magazine boards is what
without any gloss, right? No gloss.
Yeah, there's gloss on it. The gloss doesn't do anything to older books. I mean, I've used it on modern. I haven't had a problem either. But no, it has gloss on one side and no gloss on the other side. And I put that in the centerfold, and it has no effect on the pages.
I've always stayed away from the gloss because I've heard, again, these are people that I've watched or just talked with who press at 185.
Yeah, I mean, if you're putting that much heat on it, I don't put that much heat on it.
Yeah, again, you max out your heat at 125, 135 like I do.
Yeah, 135. So I don't get any color lift on the backing boards. I mean, look, I've got This one I've probably used 15 times. There's the glossy side. There's no color lift on it at all. You know, there's another one.
Yeah, I've got
I
to
use these, and they're fine. I mean, this is one as I had staples were on the back cover, so I had to do weird cutouts. Won't use this twice, but I'm not getting any color lift on the shiny side on these.
Yeah, I don't either.
I save these over time, and essentially what I have is a variety of cutouts on these for different staple. And this is the stack that I basically don't have to make new ones anymore. So I've got probably like 20 to 25 here, and I never have to make a new cutout for the middle. I always find one in here that fits.
Yeah, I have these are my Mac. These are my same exact thing. I did learn that staple cutting out from DS, and I've only got one done of this, but I use the regular halfback without any gloss on it most of the time. I put that in between the cover and the first page or second page of the cover, and sometimes I use the second SRP silicone paper in there, but it's always surrounded because there is a texture to these, and it drives me nuts. I don't know. I just don't like the texture. And I've seen
this stuff has no texture. This stuff's perfectly smooth. So
where'd you get that? That's available Amazon standard stuff. I mean, it's cheap. This stuff is not expensive. You get 10. I have 10 huge rolls of things that I've cut. So this is a single ply, then this is a double. I actually just let me show you this thing before I do it. I'll just grab a book that I'm not going to press. So I take it and I wrap the book front and back like this, and I start the stack this way, and then I put stuff in between as we keep going on. Thinner paper to thick, and then thick back to thin as we get closer to the top. The thickest is always in the middle, the thinnest is always at the edge, and then one on top. I actually put it on top of this as well because I don't like this burning. As good as this is, I actually use another thin piece of paper or two pieces of printer paper or one piece of the 110 pound, and that's how my press looks. 1, 2, and then thin to thick, and then thick to thin towards the end of the book. Exactly. The thickest product I put in on it is in the spine, in the centerfold, and then from the centerfold on the way down, I might do random pages. I might throw a single one ply in there just in case if I see if there's an ad in that page. Especially on some of the ACG books, there is almost like an ad that just a different kind of paper is in there for some reason. It just didn't seem right. And my own personal thing is why not bother? I'm not hurting it in any way. It may take longer, but at 3 hours, I'm only putting it in there for 15 to 20 minutes at the most. And after that point, it sits in a cold press for 24 hours. I don't know. That's the other part. Most important thing to do when you're done with the hot press is you're not done. Because you got to do the cold press.
You could take it out just in 2 weeks. It's going to look like it did exactly.
It's a good point.
That's why I'm so slow though, because I run mine in the press under heat for 10 minutes, and then I turn the press off, and I just let it sit there till the next day. So if I put it in at 4 p.m., the next day at 4 p.m. I take it out. So that means my press is used for one book for 24 hours. So that's why it takes me a long time. I'm not very quick. I don't take it out and put it under a book and put a new one in. I just leave it in the press for 24 hours. I don't mess
I leave it till it cools down. When mine beeps, beep, 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 most annoying sound ever, I turn it off and I let it cool down for almost overnight. Like actually it's usually overnight. And then when I get up in the morning, I say, okay, I'm going to have to start putting another book in there. I then go and put that book as is, take it out of the stack, and then it goes right into the middle of one of the IDW books with 4 other IDW books on top of it. So
I can't answer Carolina Chris's question. Maybe you can.
Which is?
Answer to the question is not mine.
Yeah, not mine either. I spent 100.
It's a good one.
I spent 179 on mine. It's a cheap made in China one. It's a piece of crap. I've learned to work with it, but I'm at the point now I need a better press. I think a good press I'm looking at is like $1,000 though, so I'm not looking to buy a cheap press anymore. But I don't know.
Like 4,500 new.
If you want a good one that is lower price, I happen to like this one, and several other people in the community use this one. this exact brand. It's called Transfer Craft. I go with a 15 by 15. You pay a little bit more for that. It's about 200, 300, I think, total. It's good, but make sure you get the clamshell so it's up and down, because if not, it takes up a ton of space. I'll just show it right here. It's next to Captain America's shield, so you can see it right there. Let me just do that so you guys can see. So over there by Captain America's shield, you can see it right there. It's blue. It's a tough craft. It works. It's done a pretty good job. It's not too bad. It's called Transfer Crafts. Amazon had it, so.
Yeah, you know what else I do though? When I put it in the press, I loosen the dial all the way up, and then when I put the book in the press, I tighten it based on the feel of how tight it's getting, depending on what kind of book it is, how bad are the defects, and I'll tighten it to what is a good feel for me for that one. When it's done, the next day I take it out, I loosen the dial again, and then I lift it. So I don't have it set where I crank it down and snap it open. I adjust all the time before and after and during the press. So I'm using that dial a lot, and I really get a feel for. Sometimes I go tighter, and sometimes I go looser. I don't know.
I do what's similar in a way, but not exactly the same. I do what's called the half turns, half turn for each grade. I can actually mark it where they should be, and with the exception of the square bounds, which I still hate pressing. I don't care. I just don't like doing it.
I got to press the square bound.
Yeah, I'd rather not do square bounds. I just don't like it.
Foolproof square pound pressing method. It works 100% of the time. You want to know the secret?
Don't do it.
Don't press them.
Yeah, that's a great. I was going to say, I won't do it anymore. I mean, I did it with Paul does a really good job, though, with it. Paul, you don't mind doing the square bounds. You just say it's a bitch. You just complain about it more than most.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's one of those things. Like, I've done this for a long time.
No problem, Chris.
You get to where you can do it. It's just the first times I did them, I didn't like doing them. Now I can do them. There's definitely more steps involved in doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like doing them. I also don't like doing ASM 238s.
Is it because
I think I hate them.
Is it the tattoos?
Yeah, that insert. I mean, I'm not.
I'd stay away from them.
It's tough to buffer. That thing's cardstock in there on two sides. The one side's cardstock and the other side's sort of not. But yeah, I don't like pressing 238s. It's much. You got to be much more attentive to it. It's more work, and I don't like it. Square bounds I hate even more. I don't like pressing square bounds, and my press doesn't work well for square bounds because the only good time I get pressure is in the middle. If I have something off to the side, I have to put another stack of backing boards to even it out because it's a piece of crap press. That makes it harder for me. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I have a Defenders Marble Feature 1 that's like a VF, and I still haven't pressed it because I just don't want to, but it's still sitting here, and I'm 7 months, I haven't pressed the damn thing.
Like, I've got tricks for doing square bounds. I've got tricks for doing 238s. I've got tricks for doing the marbles with the sticker for the digital code.
Yeah.
There's tricks to do for books where the covers are fold over, because when they do a fold over cover, it usually has that strip along the edge.
Yeah, like the XN1.
Panther 1 is like that. Real is number 1 is like that.
I have pressed those. I feel comfortable doing it. I just hate it. I'm not. It's like parallel parking. I'm a good parallel parker.
Really do the same way.
I will avoid parallel parking if necessary. If I have to do it, I can, but I really don't like to.
Mark Jewelers, I stay away from.
I've never pressed one of those yet.
Yeah, I've gotten a few. Actually, I guess Paul, you probably know that too. That a lot of the raw books at those cons that Paul and I might attend at those little hotels are military right around there. So we get a little bit more Mark Jewelers here than most. And I won't touch it because of the insert. And I don't want to take the insert out either, It's part of the book. John asked a question here that what's the most you've spent on a comic book? I can't answer because my wife might be watching.
Exactly.
I'll say
my greatest fear is someday my wife will find out how much I spent on the books versus what I told her.
No, my biggest fear is my wife sells the books for the price I told her.
Yes, exactly.
You always just build in a safe plan where half the value of your books are the ones you really care about, and the other half are.
See, there we go. Look in the chat, JD.
But, oh, did she get is ball and chain here?
Yep.
There you go. So yeah, we don't really discuss that. I will say this:
has spent more on comics for me than I have.
I'll tell you how much I spend on comics. I spend less than they're worth. That's what I spend on comics.
Yeah. I'll say this: I could have bought a few cars.
I've spent more than they're worth, but they're worth it to me.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll tell you this: I have paid more for a book because of a specific book. And Paul, I showed you the reason why.
Yep.
I said it's the only one I would have ever had, and I said that's the perfect book, and I did pay a premium for it. And I told the guy I'm paying the premium because I want that, but I don't want the same grade or grade higher slab. I want that exact book. I've done that. I have books. It's kind of weird, but they had something on them or something in them that were really cool.
Yeah, well, I've gotten really stingy, and I don't want to pay fair market value, and I don't want to pay premiums, and I've been losing auctions like crazy, and scored one. But yeah, I've been getting less and less books, but the fewer and fewer books, but the ones I'm getting, I feel for me are better quality. But I've really become stingy. I am not overpaying for books anymore. I'm trying to get deals on everything, and I've become really cheap lately. I don't know why. It's just I go through phases, I guess. Right now, I'm in a really stingy phase. Partly because the prices are going nuts, and I don't want to get involved in that. And I'm not playing that game, so I will wait and not buy it.
Yeah, I think the prices are too high right now.
Yeah,
and you're
on keys. Yeah,
there's stuff right now. They're having time selling
raw books that I can clean press, and
art's been good for me. I mean, I have a lot of art, and art's been pretty good for me lately. I've got a dealer that I've got a few international dealers that were really hurting recently that contacted me, and I said, I'll pay you now. I'll wait for it. It's not going anywhere.
That's one of the negative things about Golden Age I've found is you just, if you actually want something that's only up for sale once every year.
6 years is the last time an Adventure 34 went for sale.
Save up and
6 years.
Not like you've been looking.
No. That book, and then, of course, the first appearance of Solomon Grundy in the Golden Age is the one I've been looking for forever, All American.
Yeah.
That's one I only know. I mean, that's more easily available, but it's so hard to find a good copy of it that I'm willing to spend more for that book. Or let's say my budget was X, I would go a little bit higher if it was presenting better. But usually the grade that I'm going for in that first appearance of Solomon Grundy Golden Age it's usually damaged right across the cover.
Yeah, you don't want to overspend for anything you don't think you're going to keep either.
Right? Yeah,
because if you don't want to lose an auction because you didn't want to spend another $100, and then you don't see it for a year.
You guys saw that Jungle 2. I missed out not by much. I didn't miss out on the Jungle 2 by much, and I didn't miss out on the Jumbo.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm like, well, I might not see this book for a long time. How much money would I feel okay with saying I overpaid, but I wouldn't have wanted to lose for only $200 more or something,
Well, I lost for what, $25 I showed you guys because I spent $300 over GPA, $300 over GPA. I figured that's my price, and I was lead dog the whole time. I was lead dog. I was rabbit. I was running this thing. I had it down. And then even at the time the auction said, I watched the timer go 3, 2, 1, 0. Boom, auction ended. Boom, and then all of a sudden, the price moved differently. And that stupid eBay. That's why I hate eBay. eBay now because I dropped I got to pay $400 in eBay fees now. Jeez.
Well, I mostly am an investor at this point, and pretty much anything I'll sell for a profit. I just sold my Brick 6, a book I love, but I sold it 4.5 white pages because I got almost double on it, and I bought it last year, and I doubled my money on it. So I'm not turning down profits anymore.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more of an investor. I love the books, but there's always more to get.
Right. That's the thing about a comic book, unless it's early golden age, there's one of the ones that we can't find. The scarce, the rarity, the unicorn, the Loch Ness monster, the Pegasus.
And there's a certain nice feeling about, hey, I overpaid, but like I don't need to like freaking look at eBay lists every freaking morning, you can relax a little bit because you got it.
With original art, it's a little different. I will say that if there's a piece I really want, I'll work around finding a way to get it. If it's something I think I can afford and I can get it. I've gotten really lucky with the original art this past year, 2-3 years. I've gotten art at really low prices from compared to what other people are paying. I'm like, I bought that Thor, but I trade a lot. And Paul, you can attest to this. Every con I do, I am there to trade. I am not there to spend any money. I bring my cash in books. And I usually bring big boy books at these places. And because I always tell everybody this, I can always get another copy of ASM 1. But getting the cover or getting the interior, getting the splash page to a Thor book there's only one of them, that's it, especially if it's a birthday book, because that's kind of cool to have art that was done in 73. That's about it. I mean, we probably should talk more about the press, but it's getting late, and a lot of us got a
future show.
Yeah.
I got to get up to crack of dawn at 10 o'clock. So
yeah, that's crack of dawn. Nice. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming here. Thanks for hearing us talk about something a little different for us, but comic book maintenance and stuff like that. And we enjoyed it. We learned a lot. Hope you guys learned a lot. I learned a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And shout outs. Everybody else want to tell Paul, go tell everybody what you're doing.
Well, tomorrow I got 25 books coming back from CGC. I'll probably be going live some point tomorrow to unbox them. My wife's gonna give
me a buzz. I want to be on with you. I want to bust your chops as it comes through.
My wife's gonna cover up all the grades so that I can, because I don't need the grades.
That's what Liz did with me. We're not doing that anymore because that didn't work. I got really pissed on camera. It was the first time I went nuts. Why are you kidding me, you mother? I bad idea. But there was one I went, holy shit, they're dumber than dirt. And that was a Silver Surfer. I'm like, boy, a book that I've read about 20 times gets a 9.6 without a press is bullshit. That's a 9.6. I was like, I'm selling this one for that 9.6 price, but it's not a 9.6. DS, what do you got coming up? I think we all have books coming back from CGC.
I have one. My Terrific 5 is at CGC. It just got shipped out, so I'll have that coming back. Other than that, I've sold quite a few books. I bought a big book tonight. I'll probably watch these auctions, and I don't know. I probably have some more stuff in the pipeline coming for flip books, and I got a whole stack of stuff I need to get out to CGC. But
yeah, I'm working on them now. Yeah, and that's exactly what Knights. What do you got going on? Anything crazy?
Well, I have a lot of videos I'd like to make, but yeah, you'd think you'd have all this free time being stuck at home, but yeah, it's not happening.
I become a babysitter daycare center.
Yeah, exactly.
Sucks so bad. I still don't
life right out of you.
Every smile I ever had is gone by the time they wake up. I'm like, maybe today will be the day that they don't aggravate me. And then one comes down and they've got marshmallows already. I'm like, how the heck did you find marshmallows? Anyway, I'll be doing some videos on my channel coming up about. I have an unboxing to do. My CGC lot, Silver Age lot. Now I'm a modern. Probably about 2 weeks after that, maybe a week. Also, June 9th, I will be on. Before I'm on here, I'll be on with Kavi on his art show, Comic Books NYC.
When are you going to return to the Monday night show, DS?
Well, right now is working from home until all this Corona's done. So she needs to use the comic room and the computer. So I don't really have. I defer to that. That's more important than talking about comics. You know what I mean? So once this is over and she can get back into a regular work routine, it'll free me up again to use the computer and this room on Mondays. So it might be.
What are you doing not in a comic room?
Well, we have a small place, and the only office we have really to work in is the comic room because this is like an office. So if she has to work from home, she uses this as the office.
Nice.
So you're on your phone.
And she's the laptop. Yeah, but I don't want to use two streamings. I don't want to do two streamings on our Wi-Fi and everything gets jacked. So,
Nice.
Plus I can't do good anywhere else on my phone. I'll once it's over, I'll get back on there. It's just too much hassle, and I can't get it working right now.
John, I don't know. You look for a Tech 73 Raw. I don't know. Try the CGC boards, maybe. I don't know. All right, let's close it out. I'll just say thank you all for being a friend. Thanks everybody for joining us in the chat. Have a great one. Take care.